Wow, all these speeches so far have been so amazing. I'm really sad there's only one more.
Wait, Andrew, I think this last one might be someone you know really well.
Wait, you're right, my sister, she's like amazing, creative, diligent, charismatic.
Okay. FR?
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, so Athena is a fourth-year student and president of Northeastern University American Student Association. She cares deeply about cultural learning and appreciation and has worked to build spaces where Asian Americans, especially Taiwanese Americans, can share and celebrate their identities. Her talk, Unlearning Competition, Finding Connection, explores how she learned to transform rivalry into genuine community and pride.
Please give it up for our final speaker of the night, Athena Wu.
Hi, I'm Athena, and I'm best friends with my middle school mentees. Still are. We bested so hard that after our senior year of high school, we went on our grad trip to a lake in upstate New York, Lake Saranac. After soaking up the sun, hiking, and whitewater rafting, we came to the topic of first impressions. We're laughing, reminiscing about the old days, and then it's my turn. What were everyone's first impressions of Athena Wu? Oh, I thought you were really whitewashed. Damn, not what I expected at all. I was super offended. This might possibly be like the biggest insult you could ever give me. And as everyone chimed in agreement, I immediately asked them to elaborate. And they said, well, you hung out with a lot of white people in middle school. Okay, true. And then they continued talking about a random lunch during junior year when they were proved wrong. I can't remember what the object was, but they were struggling to read some Chinese characters on it, and I took a quick look and read it out loud in Chinese. From that moment, they were surprised to learn I was more in touch with my culture than I had assumed. Maybe more in touch with the culture than them. So we're driving back to our R&B and Airbnb, and I'm still reeling about that impression they had just described. And that conversation has stuck with me even to this day. Looking back, I realized how much of my culture I'd been reluctant to share growing up. How much of my life I'd spent trying to be someone else for other people, but especially trying to be someone different from other Asians. So how did we get here? Let's take a quick throwback to elementary school. Yes, baby me, simpler times. I grew up in Albany, the capital of New York, and like the rest of upstate New York, it was predominantly white. So I'm not trying to dox myself here, but if you look at the stat for my town, Asians are 1%. I had a lovely childhood, and I know there's the usual stories of bringing ethnic foods and getting made fun of, things that you hear when someone's describing how they grew up Asian American. But personally, I don't remember much of that. It's more of the quieter moments that are ingrained in my memories. Getting automatically put into ESL, English Second Language class, even though my reading level was ahead of the class. Being at an arcade when the staff was rude to me compared to the white girl in front of me in line, my mom telling her off while I stood there, too young to understand what was going on. Being chased on the playground by my bully in first grade, actually fearing for my life. I remember looking back at her while running, then turning forward just in time to crash into a pool, bursting into tears with a huge bump on my head. Having my teacher pull me aside to ask if I thought a drawing was offensive because my fellow Asian peer had brought it up. I was so silent. When I transferred to a different elementary school in my district after third grade, one that was even less diverse than the one I was previously at, it became even more apparent. I remember going to my friend's house for the first time, and on the bus, witnessing another Asian kid being verbally and physically attacked. Things like, "Your forehead's so big, that's first so smart that I want to F word your big forehead," followed by more slurs. I felt sick to my stomach. He was just sitting there, taking it all as if it was normal. It was normal for him. I quickly learned that I had to be cautious, tread lightly. I believed that if I gave people fewer chances to target me, maybe I could avoid discrimination. I internalized all the stereotypes such as nerdy, unathletic, and made it my mission to prove them wrong, even if it meant distancing myself from other Asians. I had a strong desire to be the cool Asian, the one who was well-liked, so I picked up interests that weren't truly mine. So what did it mean to be a better Asian? To be more white. I was treated nicer, I was easy to get along, life got easier. I'd even make comments that reinforced stereotypes like try hard about my fellow Asian classmates, and that was not my proudest moment. At home, I was always passionate about Chinese culture. I loved watching movies and listening to Chinese music, but I mostly kept that to myself. I felt proud to be Taiwanese. I really did, and I still do. Around my non-POC friends, I felt comfortable talking about Taiwan. I even sent a postcard from Taiwan 101 to my 4th grade class. I'd winced when they thought I was talking about Thailand, but what can you do, right? But I also felt like I had to hide it sometimes because of the tensions between Taiwan and China. The few Asians in my grades were mostly Chinese, and I tried not to bring up Taiwan too much, partly because of my parents' discretion. I remember once having a heated conversation with my Chinese classmate about whether Taiwan was a country. What started as a discussion about why simplified versus traditional Chinese, him arguing that simplified was more efficient, me saying traditional preserved culture, it quickly became personal. We argued until the end of class, and I left for lunch feeling frustrated. Looking back, I realized that moment wasn't just about language or politics, it's about identity, pride, and the need to be understood. Furthermore, I felt alienated since there wasn't really a Taiwanese community when I was growing up. I remember feeling envious of the Chinese church community some people had, but I was a Christian or from mainland China. Then in middle school, we were divided into houses. I was in Mohawk, and most of the Asians were put into Taoiseach. So I again ended up surrounded by mostly white classmates, like the yolk of an egg. And back then I hated being the yolk. I thought the yolk was dry and crusty, and I wanted to be the soft, familiar, palatable white instead. My parents added to that pressure too. They made comments like, why didn't I get 100 like him, or why did she get the solo? That pressure made me hate seeing others succeed. Pretty terrible, right? But that competition wasn't just about grades or achievements. It seeped into how I saw people who looked like me. I started seeing other Asians as rivals instead of peers. Things started to shift in high school. People grew up. Some of my white friends started to get into things I couldn't relate to: drugs, drinking, hookup culture. I did not see myself in that. I started taking advanced classes, which meant I was surrounded by more Asian peers for once. Honestly, 9th and 10th grade were really dark years for me. It felt like all the pillars I had built my identity on were crumbling. Who was I without the need to constantly prove myself? I felt disconnected from everyone, growing away from my middle school friend group, and unfamiliar with these new classmates. But my new classmates took me in with welcome arms, and I realized the comfort in shared experiences. Strict parents, cultural expectations, subtle racism. I could finally say things like, yeah, my mom does that too, and people actually got it. As hard as it was, with everything stripped away, it forced me to focus on what I truly liked. Then COVID hit, and when everything stopped, what did I rely on? My family. All I had was my family, like my goated, charismatic brother Andrew Wu, music and time. I did a lot of what I liked, listening to Chinese music, watching those shows and movies, and I stayed connected to my Asian peers and would FaceTime and text nonstop in my group chat. The people I once saw as competitors became real friends. I wish I could tell my younger self that when I stopped performing, that's when I finally found the sense of belonging I had always been looking for. As healing as that time was, it was also a double-edged sword. The rise of anti-Asian hate during the pandemic was alarmingly present. My junior year, I attended a discussion about stereotypes and bias, but I remember feeling completely out of place. I swallowed my discomfort and moved on, not realizing until much later how society had conditioned me to feel comfortable with hate and uncomfortable with understanding. With the social upheaval of 2020, everything I had been feeling internally seemed to erupt on a national scale. I wanted to do something. I went back to another training session and learned about an anti-racism community that was forming, and I joined right away. We settled on an objective. 20 students would organize a rally to condemn hate and encourage sympathy for others through speeches and activities. The months of planning were hectic, and COVID did not make it easier. I planned one of our activities called Take a Step, which visualized privilege, over Google Meet and FaceTime at midnight. On a school holiday, I went in person to rehearse, and I also edited together videos for the rally that was broadcast on school news. My principal reached out to compliment my video. It gave me class time to talk about the logistics of our high school's first anti-hate rally. Let's take a look at it.
In New York City, police have recorded at least 40 anti-Asian attacks while out for a walk. He died a few days later.
In these dialects, the 75-year-old woman says she was attacked unprovoked.
And this young man took it upon himself to create this social media.
American leaders say these attacks are a trend, not isolated incidents.
Following the shooting spree last week in Atlanta that targeted 3 Asian spas, 8 people killed, 6 of them were Asian women.
Unleashing the wrath behind an endless string of footage highlighting a centuries-old issue.
When the day finally came, over 100 people showed up, students, teachers, and parents. I remember sitting in the heat, listening to my classmates share stories that felt painfully familiar. People even wrote wonderful messages in chalk along the entrance to the school. While handing out water bottles, a local reporter asked to interview me, and I ended up speaking on behalf of our committee. Not long after, the school board appointed an administrator for equity and inclusion. But as I said in the interview, the rally is a beginning, not an end. During my senior year, I worked to bring similar conversations to our elementary schools and planned another rally that following spring. My experience taught me what a community could really look like. People showing up, listening, and caring for one another. So this is my 16-year-old self, also speaking a speech. I cannot believe that this was 5 years ago.
My community and for the greater good. No one should feel comfortable with hate. No one should be treated as anything less than a human. Thank you.
For the first time, I didn't feel like I had to prove my worth. I just had to show up and speak for my people. I felt proud of my culture, and I was now excited to share that with others. My senior year, I hosted the first town booth at our school's local fair and organized our second anti-hate rally. And that summer, I joined PAACx, which is Formosa Association of Student Cultural Ambassadors in New York, which is a youth volunteer program that connects second and third generation Taiwanese American youth with their heritage through cultural activities and public diplomacy. I was the oldest one there, about to go to college, hanging out with a bunch of middle schoolers, but it was so fun, and I kept thinking to myself, I wish I had this when I was growing up. And that's why it felt so important for me to find this community in college. I started off as public relations for TASA, Northeastern Taiwanese American Student Association, which is now 2 years young. I reached out to local Taiwanese businesses for sponsorships and worked on collaborations with other cultural orgs for our first night market and for greater initiatives like Asian American Heritage Month. Through these events, I learned so much about different cultures and met so many amazing people. I got more involved in the Asian community, joining a fam in ASU, and then later picking up in both ASU and TASA. And then through any calls, Northeastern Culture and Language Learning Society, I started teaching Mandarin and later joined the e-board to help run these student-led language sessions. Now, as president of TASA, I focus on celebrating Taiwanese American culture and building connections across communities. I also serve as National Programs Director for TASA, the Collegiate TASA, across the country, helping to create spaces where Taiwanese students nationwide can connect and learn from one another. Looking at the big picture now, I really strive to stop seeing people as competition and instead just connect. My journey has been about unlearning that internalized competition and racism. I hope to help others find pride in their identities in spaces where Asian Americans can connect authentically without feeling the need to either fit in or, in my case, rebel against stereotypes. Unlearning competition isn't easy since it's so ingrained in our human nature, but by being conscious and intentional, we make room for connection, pride, and community. And maybe even friendship with our old enemies. Here's a wonderful candid that my mom took of me and my high school friends at my grad party. And I can't wait to see them at home Thanksgiving. So yeah, I hope my story can serve as a reminder that we're all still growing and that it's important to pause and rethink what truly matters to us. Even writing this speech has made me reflect on just how far I've come and how much I've still been learning about myself in the process. So before I end, I want to invite you to all take a moment and reflect too. Times when comparison got in the way for connection. Maybe you can just break for like 2 minutes. Just turn and talk to the people next to you about any of these questions.
I know for me, I compare myself to them a lot. I feel like that's only natural. That's the only problem is they're always better than me. So I kind of realized from a young age that competing with them, well yeah, still a part of it. So like, competing with them like just sucks. It's a lot harder than what happens.
I was not and I was
getting not doing good competition.
But I learned like it's okay.
And taking the heart. There's always gonna be people better than you, so like keep going. Don't let it never who you are. Change it.
Did I get up there? You just want to talk about it?
Alright, next year nobody grew.
Next year, dude. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm also not
Okay, I thought okay.
Oh, this is the last one.
Wise words. It was supposed to end up here.
Not?
Like the speeches were supposed to end here.
Oh, that is not.
I throw it out there, I'm not I can say this.
But she said like, oh my god, your brother, Andrew Wu, and you look dead serious, and I looked up.
What's supposed to do like, no,
This is not even appreciated. The shadow. I was like, yo, give it a reaction.
I was trying to be nonchalant.
Also, my ass. My ass.
My ass.
Hopefully you guys have time to talk about these. Does anyone want to share what they talked about? Corey.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm a twin brother, so I'm the younger twin. And when I was younger, I would compare myself. I think it's pretty natural because I had a twin brother do the exact same things to me a lot of the time. But the only problem with that is he low-key like mocks me a lot of the time. He was always in the advanced math group. He was better than me at baseball. He was better than me at so violin. He was like a higher chair than me, which also sucks because I was able to see exactly how much worse I was. But I kind of learned through that experience that comparing myself to him like sucks, and it's a lot better if I'm just happy for him, and we can celebrate each other's accomplishments.
Thank you for sharing. After that, we would maybe sometimes do. but I'm glad that I have like a healthy way of like dealing with this type of comparison with your brother. Okay, so the last thing I want to share is the second promotional video I made for the rally, my senior year.
But what does it mean to be human? Curious, supportive, diligent, imperfect. Yet how can we reduce humans into mere words, to fit into categories, to be trapped in boxes of what should and shouldn't? We're free to make choices, to grow, and make change. So let's choose humanity. Do you have what it takes to be human?
So yeah, that was my story, and thank you for listening.